and we're here with the third session of the High Vibe Content Mastery. I'm super excited for this session. We're going to dive in and have a lot of strategy going on today, a lot of practical examples, and I'm going to give it to you in a way that hopefully it's not overwhelming and it's going to be super inspiring. And I'm also going to share the slides afterwards, because in this specific session, I feel like you need it for sure, to just go over it and let it sink in a little bit more. So I am gonna share my slides. Oh. And before we're diving into the topic of today, we're gonna do a little bit of a recap of last week. We talked about the one thing your free content should do. And we had some aha moments that I wanted to share. The first one was from Cynthia. Watching the replay, my biggest aha so far is the distinction between free and core content and how to focus on a desire, and that there are many ways that lead to Rome, but my way is the best way. No bro marketing. And this is a really, like, I started following a lot of Russell Brunson's work in the beginning when I started my own business. And it's so much different than what they say, like, my way is the only way. No, it's not. It's about finding the agreement in that your way is the best way for them, which is really good that you got that from it. And of course, the chocolate and broccoli, I think most people got that from it. It's so specific and it gives you so much to work with when you're writing your post. And Ashley Lily also shared something, and I wanted to speak to that because I think it's really great that you guys are using the Facebook group. It's one of the benefits of being in the live launch of this program, to really connect, but also a reminder that when you're actually doing the homework, you get better results because you start to understand the work, you start to embody the teachings, and content is a lot about practicing. And when you then actually look at other people's content, so either right now in the Facebook group, or for those who are not in the live program but are doing the self-study course, go on your Facebook page and scroll through the timeline and see where you can see these principles coming up, or where you see somebody do the opposite, because the best student is the teacher. And when you step into that teacher role, that leadership role, and you take radical responsibility of how you are creating content, then it gets to be really fun and exciting. And I also saw Rita's breakthrough from yesterday, which is really, really good to see how she's just really owning it. She's owning that she is not where she wants to be yet and taking really responsibility for getting there. So I wanted to share this as well. She said, "Good Lord, I have been revising my last 20 or more posts, and I realized that 1 out of 10 is totally directed to the hero. As of the rest, I tell them off. I'm lecturing them all the time with what they're supposedly don't know, or with whatever elephant there is in the room that nobody names. So I think looks as a paradigm shift, but with a pinch of nagging. It's a disguised criticism all over it. Plus, it lacks a target somehow so often. No wonder I don't feel like posting. How could I want to do such an activity under these conditions? I am bemused in front of this and relieved. As in the Portuguese saying, after a storm, there comes a bonanza. It feels like that early morning after the heavy storm where the sun shines shy, and you'll soon come out to see what was the impact of the stormy weather. It sounds so good yet. This is it." And Ashley Lily also explains it underneath, like a bit shorter, but it captures also the same. Oh, my sharing is in front of it. She said, "Oof, I feel you on this. I looked at my content after the past week and I was like, who am I speaking to? My offer is not clear, or it's just promoting free stuff." It's exactly the learning phase that we are in, though now we know. And this is it. This is the things that you're all learning here in this program. So I'm so happy to read all of these shifts. And what I wanted to highlight from what Rita is sharing is, first of all, taking that responsibility, looking at your past, looking what you've been doing wrong and how you can change it, and not just being like, "Whoa, this is so much. How do I ever shift?" No, this is available for you. It's just about seeing it. And Rita sees it so clearly right now. Then it also is about being clear, like, who are you speaking to? What are you selling? All those things should also be in there. So not just talking down on them. or not talking to the hero and shifting towards talking to the hero, but being really specific in your content, really being clear of what you have to offer, what type of person you are, how you can guide them there. And I saw so many of you already shifting more towards how you can do this. And there are so many more layers of this available. So I'm very excited for you to uncover that in the rest of the program as well. And then some questions, only one question actually from the topic from last week. Bianca shared about, I offer live events and I'm looking for ways to promote them to people in a high vibe way. Do you have any suggestions on which tricks I could use to make people show up? I have many people interested, but very few actually show up to the events. And then we talked about it already last week, but Cynthia said, I'd like to hear more on this. I also have a lot of people showing interest, but not buying. I'm going to speak shortly to it, but today it's going to get a lot more clear. Probably it has to do with the way you speak to them and how you're like putting it into the chocolate and broccoli type of way. But this also sounds, if you have people interested, then why are they not deciding? And that's also about, are you using emotion and logic? Are you balancing them out? Are you helping them make that decision? And I will talk a little bit more about the phrase, this sounds amazing, but maybe in 5 months. I will talk about that today in the session as well, what to do with that, how it works, because that's probably what some of you will recognize. High Vibe Content Mastery, session 3, content types and copywriting mastery. Everybody who's here, are you excited for today's session? Drop it in the chat. I see some people nodding, actually. Nodding is also good. I can see your faces. What we will cover today in 90 minutes, maybe a little bit less, but I think we're going to go a little bit over time to compensate for the 10 minutes I missed. Teaching, the teaching is about the content types and the copywriting mastery. So a lot of examples on how to do it, some templates, but mostly like what type of content. We talked about this in the Content That Sells Masterclass, and I gave you 5 types of content. I changed them slightly today, and we're going to talk more about why. And we're also going to talk about the specific content examples, structures, templates. We're going to do a really cool deep dive on invite your ideal client to take the next step, the call to action, which some of you have been asking about already, how to make that bridge from your content towards actually selling, and some attention grabbing headlines. And at the end, we do a Q&A. Reminders, be present. Be always on the outlook for the golden nuggets, whether it's with me in this program or wherever you're showing up for yourself or business. Show up for the golden nuggets and pay attention. Share your aha moments. You can, when you hear me say something, drop it in the chat right now, or like whenever you feel the aha moment, to anchor it in for you and to share it with the others as well. And when you're watching the replay, you can put it in the comments in the Facebook group. When you're watching the replay from the self-study course, I would love for people to reach out to me and send me a DM and just share like, hey, this is it. It's landing. I'm having so many transformations. I can see so clearly now, like the post from Rita. I would love to receive those. Save your questions for the end, or when you've used the question box, I've already put them at the end in the live session, in the live version where we're now, and do the homework. It's really not busy work. It's really intentional, and it's what's going to help you have those shifts that you long for. Okay, before we dive in today is going to be a lot about strategy. So I want to be really, really clear again about strategy versus energetics. It's really 40% solid strategy, content, the product suite, the sales, the client retention, like everything business related. And it's 60% energetics and embodiment and being your own testimonial, really being what you're selling and also showing up in that high vibrational state, right? I'm a business strategist. I'm going to guide you guys through everything strategy related and especially content related in this context. And I'm going to really focus on that today, the strategy. So if it feels a little bit overwhelming, you can also let go a little bit more. It will sink in. And it's really about understand why it works and then break it apart and make it your own. So it's more guidelines, structure, framework than that it is proven science. And you are really the creative. You are the strategist. You are both. I really like this saying of, how does it go? It's one of my favorite mantras. I am you, you are me, we are one, all is well. And for me, it symbolizes how we're all connected. And that means you can also tap into that. If you feel maybe you are more creative normally, know that you are also the strategist. You haven't tapped into that yet. And that's what I'm going to guide you through. If you're normally more of the strategist and you're here for more strategy and to know how to implement it in a different way, that's also totally fine. But also know you are also a creative. Being a creative is not just about drawing like a figure stick. Like, do you say figure stick? I don't know the word. Like just drawing a person or drawing in general. Like, I'm really terrible at drawing. And for a very long time, I thought that meant I'm not creative. But creativity goes so much more beyond that. It's about expression and showing up and your voice and writing. And it's so much more than just drawing or having something like a painting or something. I think last year I joined a women art club just to try it out, and I was terrible. I was so terrible at putting it all together, and that made me think also about what does creativity mean, because actually I am super creative. I'm running this business, I'm creating new offers, I'm creating content. I already wrote actually books when I was little, and I know I'm going to write a book again. So I am very creative, but I just didn't connect my personal identity with it. And that's what I want to remind you of. We are both creative and a strategist, and sometimes we need to balance them out a little bit more. And that's also what the comparison is about. Like, it's strategy versus energetics, but you need both. It's masculine energy versus feminine energy, but you need both. It's direction, which I would say is the strategy, and creativity, which is the power. So when you have the power, when you're very like passionate and you have this like feeling that you know what you want to do, but not really how, in what shape, and how to show up for it, combine it with some strategy, because you will be unstoppable. And yeah, it's also really, it's really about the crazy genius here in this context of creating content, of running your business, and a little bit also about being delusional, because we are here because we really desire to build a big business, right? We really want to step into our greatness in that sense. And you get to be a little bit delusional, and that means showing up in a delusional way. And if you feel like, okay, can I step into this leadership role? Yes, you can. Of course you can. So that's a little bit of the power talk that I wanted to give you before we dive into more of the strategical work, to not forget about the energetics, your identity work, and just really own it and see this more as guidelines than as strict rules. And also be with the mindset, I get to create this content. I get to stand on this stage called social media, and I get to dance around on it. For me, this is everything, to really shift from I need to show up because I need clients and I need to be visible, to I get to create this content. I get to stand on this stage and I get to dance around on it, to have fun with it, to play with it. So let's dive in. I kind of wanted to change this a little bit, the 5 content types from what I shared in the Content That Sells Masterclass. It's basically still the same, but I wanted to give you this little word that you can remember of the 5 stages, and that's le top. I don't know what it means. Maybe the French word of le top, and then the tab that's on the internet, you know, like the extra tab that you open. But it just works better to remember it when there are like the E and I in there. I don't know. I'm terrible at the alphabet with those letters, but this is how you can remember it a bit better. So I try to put it more in a framework for you, because yeah, creating content, I've been doing this for 4 years now. I'm really good at it at this point. I also started out in a very different place than I'm right now. And for me, it's super natural. So I kind of like, by creating this session for the High Vibe Content Mastery, I dove back into, okay, what are actually the frameworks and structures again that I started with? Because when you really know how this works, I think I'm missing a slide. No, I wanted to give you guys an example of what I often give to my clients. Like, when you're implementing structure, it is a lot about first following the rules and the guides and the guidelines, and then making it your own. And I always compare this to yoga. My first marketing coaching business was for yoga teachers in the Netherlands. And so I have a lot of comparisons with yoga. What really, for me, yoga is about is the first month that you're doing it for the first time, you feel super awkward. You feel super seen in the class. You really don't know why everybody else knows all the moves and you don't, and why you lose balance and nobody else does. And you feel like people are watching you. At least that was my experience the very first month I went to a yoga school. And then you start to make it your own. You start to understand that everybody's in their own world, that you are focused internally of your power and your strength, and it's all okay. And that whenever the teacher gives you recommendations, it's sometimes good to follow, and sometimes you know that your body and your system needs something a little bit different. So I am teaching you what you can do, and you probably want to adapt like 75%, but also add 25% of you and what you want to create in this business. So again, a little recap. I talked about this in the Content That Sells Masterclass. What makes people buy? And it's the know, like, and trust for somebody to be ready to buy from you. But it's also, is that person ready to buy from its own perspective? So it's about you and the relationship with you, and it's about them. Are they ready? So you want to speak to the ready client. We talked about this in the previous sessions, and you want them to be ready in terms of your offer. And it's really about seeing where your audience is. So you have cold, warm, and hot. And when they're cold, they really don't know you, and they don't even recognize or see their own problem. Then when it becomes more warm, they might know or even love you, and they might know about the problem. But what we really want to focus on with the raw client is the person that actually knows that there's a solution already, which is also something we're still teaching them. But the person we're directly speaking to is the one who is ready, able, and willing, and we activate the hero within them. And then they become ready to buy, which can be a journey for everybody in a different way. I spoke about the example of getting married and meeting somebody right on the spot, and you meet them on the street. They ask you to marry you, but you don't know that person. Of course, you're going to say no. But if you've had all the touch points with that person, you know if that person is the one for you, yes or no, then you will most likely say yes if you know that the person is the one for you. So it also has to do with building rapport. And what I teach is building rapport on steroids. So not just know and like, but really love. Because for premium buyers, what I found is time is so much more important than money. So also the process of getting to know somebody, if you can speed that up, they will really appreciate that, because they will know if you're a good fit for them, yes or no. And you can speed that up by spending, but by talking about the 3 V's, the values, vulnerability, and vibes. We're going to talk a bit more about that today. I'll give you some examples as well. And this whole process will just speed up the decision-making process, because they become warmer leads sooner. It's also about building that trust. And the trust is about trusting themselves even more than it's about trusting the offer or to trust you. And for you guys, you trusted yourself to come to this course, to show up for yourself, to make the investment, and to know that you were actually going to implement and that you were going to do these things. That's why you invested, right? And you also saw that my offer was a good fit for you, and you probably like my vibe. So the trust was there, but the most important thing is that you trust yourself. And that's also the same for your audience. So when Rita shared about talking down on the audience, that's actually super important, because if you are putting them in a place where they trust themselves less to get the results because you are talking down on them, then this is not established. So you want to talk to their highest potential. You want to really feel conviction in your audience. And it's also about activating them. And this is where a lot of coaches who are already teaching really profound content miss something. They teach about the trust and they teach about belief shifting. But what we already talked about, it's also about actual behavior change to really help them step up the stair of actual change. So not just shifting the beliefs, but also what happens after. What is the next step after shifting that belief? How can they actually implement these things? And that's also what we're going to talk about today. And that's definitely what you need to be talking about to move your warm and hot leads into actually buying from you. And the core content, of course, we talked about last week. This is a really short summary of it. I had a lot of fun putting these pictures here to kind of like make it visual. it's about trust and activation. That is what the core content is about. To build trust that, okay, yes, there are multiple ways that lead to the chocolate, to the Rome, to the desired result of your ideal client. But let's get them in agreement that your path is actually the best way. And you talk about it in this order. You talk about the chocolate first, because that's what is on their mind. That's what they desire. That's where they want to move towards, because they move either away from pain or towards desire. So we want to focus on activating them to move. We also want to speak to the hero within. We want to activate them and see, like, show them like, hey, it's safe for you to walk on this path. It's safe for you to move forward in life. And then we also want to talk about the broccoli, because when we have their attention, when they're engaged, when they feel like we understand them because we talk to the things that they're thinking about, then we want to talk about our method, our way, our path, the broccoli that they need to walk to get the desired results. And when there's agreement on all of that, the path towards actually getting those results will be so much clearer. So instead of a forest that is completely without a clear path to walk on, where people get lost, and maybe there's even the draining sand. This is a translation from Dutch. Like the sand that you sink into. Maybe you get completely lost, and that might have been what your content looked like before. But now the content is actually a lot more clear, and you're actually guiding people on that path. So they see this bridge towards the desired island, and they see it's safe to walk. It's not this weird bridge that kind of like falls apart, but it's really a steady bridge that they trust to walk, and they can see the island and they want to be there. That is what the core content is about. So content that gets them ready faster is really about showing these different phases in your content to get them on that path of agreement. And that's also when I created this little template. I'm going to talk more about it, but it's really helping them move through these different phases, and keeping in mind that it's both about them seeing that you're the one that can help them, but also about them acknowledging the problem and wanting to move forward and trusting themselves to actually be able to step out of it and make change. So there are 5 content types that I identified, and that's the LUTAP. The first one is love, to build rapport on steroids. The second one is engage, and the order here is mostly for the nice pronunciation of LUTAP, and I will talk more about which one is most important. Engagement is for the algorithm and to actually connect and to have a conversation. Trust is about trusting themselves, your offer, and you, which is part of the core content. Activate is the desire focus and talking to the hero to actually activate them to do something, like motivational speeches, basically. And that's also the core content. So trust and activate are the core content pieces. And then buy, because you want to bring it home, right? You want them to take the next step. So that's the call to action. It's actually selling. It's helping them make the decision. And we're going to talk a lot about that today. And I'm going to talk more about this framework. And I made it like, you see the love, trust, buy, which is about that journey. Then you see the trust and the activate. They are colored yellow because that's the core content. And then the engage can happen on every level. And the engage is not really a certain phase, but it's more for the algorithm, for the connection. So in my mind, this makes a lot of sense. I'm going to talk more about it today in this session. And at the end, if you have questions, I will speak to them as well, of course. Engagement, yeah, I already said it, but it's about the algorithm being visible, and it's about building that relationship and about collecting leads, because also people buy from people. So you want to have that engagement moment. How do I balance these posts? How much do I post of what post? And this is just a guideline and an inspiration, and it's really about finding your own style. There's no right or wrong here. It's not about copying me. It's about understanding what goes on in your audience and how you can use this to improve your content. And I can tell you, like, this is working for me, but also making this session, making this, like preparing these slides, was also again an eye-opener for me. Like, oh, okay, maybe there I could do a little bit more again, or there I could do a little bit more. But right now, what it looks like for me is I use like 10% love post, 5% engagement post, trust is 45%, activate is 20%, and buy is 15%. And the core content, as you can see, just pops out most. That's the thing that I focus most on in my content, to really get people ready to buy. And this is more the main topic of the post, but within every post, I just sprinkle little bits and pieces of all these different styles. And I will talk more to that in the specific example, so it makes more sense. So full permission to find your own style, to make it your own. And also for some markets, it works a little bit different. And this, I think generally this could work for everyone. But maybe if you are, I don't think actually it's the market. I think every market is kind of the same in this sense. But if you are wanting to build a different kind of business model where you're maybe boosting more numbers and introducing different lower priced and mid-priced offers, something that I'm in the process of building out now in my own business, then the engagement probably is going to need to get a little bit more attention because you want to speak to a bigger audience. But most of the time for a premium offers, you do not need like high engagement, viral reels. I've never gone viral and I have a 6-figure business. So yeah, I'm going to speak more to that as well in the examples. So for everybody who is here live, what is the most dominant content type in your content right now based on what I shared? What is your initial thought when you're seeing this? Where are you hanging out most? What type of content are you currently the most focused on? Drop it in the chat and I will take a look. But also, which one is not present in your content right now? So from the, let's say from these, from the love, engage, trust, activate, and buy, just, notice for yourself which one is most present and which one is not present at all. Cynthia says, I guess love, but which one is that? Is that the one that is most dominant or the one that is not there at all? Most dominant. And Aaron says most present love, not present at all buy. Yeah, most of the time we are not selling enough, like not at all. People don't know anything about your offer. So we're going to change that today. And also, besides these posts, there is one really important thing that you want to balance out in your post, and that's the emotion and the logic. And that also has a lot to do with the buy. In the buy post, we're going to speak more to this. You want to make sure that you're speaking to both, whether it's emotion or logic. Most of the time right now, one of them is also dominant. So also drop in the chat which one you are using most in how you're showing up. Based on what you're sharing with love, probably it's emotion for Erin and Cynthia. For me, it used to be more logic, and I'm shifting more towards emotion. And that's like a shift that you can create for yourself. And most of the time, this one is more dominant. So let's balance it out and focus next week a little bit more on writing the other way. Emotions are the desire, the feelings, imagination, really storytelling, capturing somebody in the moment and how that felt for you, being vulnerable, these type of things. And on the picture on the right top, you also see a little bit of the difference, like the emotional mind and the logical mind. And in the sweet spot, you see the wise mind. And that's the sweet spot. Logical, this is what you get, this is what you'll learn, these are the benefits. And I know that there was also a question that I'm going to speak to today about, okay, I see people do these very direct posts. When is there a time and place for that? So we're going to talk about that as well. And then also balancing out emotion and logic is kind of like speaking to, it is your time. That's why it's connected to the buy. Like, these are your emotions and that's why it's time. This is why it's logical to buy. That's why it's time. And Simon Sinek in the book Start With Why speaks very clearly to this, like how we make our decisions. The decision-making process in our mind is really with emotions, and then we justify that with logic. This book, Start With Why, I do recommend it, but read the summary because the book itself is so long and draining, and he basically says the same thing over and over again with different words. So if you're interested in it, go to YouTube, just type in the summary and watch it for 10 minutes and you'll understand what I mean. And the very famous, I love your work, I'll join the next round. So what's going on there? So what is going on is that probably there is not a very strong feeling of urgency, and that can be general urgency of why they should join right now in terms of bonuses, but it is most of the time an internal urgency, especially with the type of clients that we want to call in, because we want those premium clients, right? The ones who actually are ready and want to make that change from within, and not who are ready just because we tell them they are. So if your internal urgency activation, your emotions, your desire focused, and really showing them the desire, but also speaking to why right now, connected to their desire. If that is not strong enough, they will not buy. And that does not mean like you have to say like you have to buy right now because of early bird ending, da 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 da. These are also really strong and you definitely need to use them. But it's more about, I know you desire this, you've desired it for so long, you've already wanted this for 2 or 3 years, nothing really has changed. You know what the next step is. This is it. Go and live your desire. That's how you call them in with internal urgency. And this only works when they actually have the drive and the desire, which is beautiful because it kind of weaves out the people who are not truly internally motivated. And the best type of clients to work with is those who actually want it from within and not just from external ideas that they might want the success from the ego. It's really from the heart and from the desire. Is all of this landing so far? I see some nods. Good. Okay. So are you using more emotion or logic right now? I think I already asked that, but I see Cynthia more emotion, but then also emotion should be connected to moving forward. So not just emotion like I feel like this, but really like guiding them the way as well. Maddie says logic, then for you, just weave in a bit more emotion. And what is really nice is to go back to an old post and just rewrite it because you already wrote it. So then you can fully focus on just adding in a little bit more emotion. And also you can just take a post maybe from a month ago, rewrite it a little bit and post it again. So then you can actually reuse the post you recreated as well. We're going to talk more about that in the 5th session of how you can actually repurpose everything. Maddie said, since I started the course, I've shifted a lot and added a lot of emotions. Yes, super good to hear. And Erin definitely wants intrinsically motivated clients. Yes, that's such a game changer. And really, like, before I learned this, I think I've been working in this way now for a year to actually call in from internal very intentionally. I did it a little bit before, more naturally, but I started to also analyze what type of clients did I call in. And it shows you so much about your content. And when you feel you're not working with the right type of clients, the answer is in how have you been calling them in. So let's dive into some specific content examples, structures, and frameworks. And this can feel like, well, I don't want to say it feels like a lot because it's very practical examples, but also take the time to get used to all of these. At the end, you will see I'll give you a very simple homework assignment to just focus on 1 or 2 extra types to add into your mix. You don't have to do them all right now. I'm not even doing them all the time. And that's something I'm going to speak about more as well. But first, creating content is an art. It's not a science. Although there is a little bit of science that goes in. We spoke about that as well. It's finding about your way and not copying scripts of your coach. And I'm really highlighting this today because I'm going to share a lot of examples. And I don't want you to get those examples and just like write exactly the same sentences, just change a few words, because that's not going to work. My content has my energy, my personality, my embodiment behind it. That's why it works for me. And that's also why I'm not giving like literally scripts to follow. I give you some templates. I give you these examples, use them, be inspired by them, but really rewrite every sentence with your own words, with your own intentions, and make it your own. And of course, also, I put a lot of love into creating all of this, and it's just not nice when I see the same phrases, exactly how I wrote them, copy and paste into somebody else's post. But the most important thing is to really make it your own and to feel connected to your own post and not still have my tone of voice in it. So we start with trust, because trust is where the heavy lifting of getting people ready to buy happens. And it starts with the belief shifting. It's about themselves and them really having the confidence to move forward. It's about that you're the right fit for them so that they can see that. And also about your offer and methodology that actually matches their desire. So about that roadmap from the chocolate, the hero, the broccoli, for having that clear path towards where they want to walk for their desire. Also, of course, behavioral changes. And belief shifting is already really strong, but behavioral changes is kind of like the cherry on top of that. For those who already shifted their beliefs, now what? Now what can I do? And also just a belief shifting post can be enough, because I'm going to teach you also today how to put the call to action underneath it. And that is also activating behavioral changes. Educational post, there is definitely a time and place for educational post, and it really amplifies the authority, the expert status, and it's also it's like when you write educational posts, sometimes people ask, what can I put into it? A really kind of rule of thumb here is don't give it all away. Talk about the what and the why, and the how is your offer. And the more advanced you get in business, the less strict you have to be with that, because your expertise is beyond what you can put in a post. And for most of you, that is already the case. So don't hold back, really give a lot of value, because your client will know that what they read in a post is not the transformation that they can have when they actually join your programs, when they actually join your offers. And education is also about metaphors, really making it simple for people to see the exact same thing that they've been hearing over and over again in a new kind of format. So I also work with a lot of metaphors in my teachings, in my content, and it's really because that's how storytelling also helps you to understand what I'm talking about. And of course, trust is also built with client results. So it's proof your offer and methodology works. It's literally the client results. So this is like proof that it works. You can like show your own results. You can show results of clients, but also really show your own results, because that's the embodied expertise. And the client results is about sales and signups, like proof that people choose you. Like when you think of social proof and you have two restaurants and one is completely full with people and the other is not, you don't actually know if the food is good, but it gives you a big hint that probably it is. And that's also what the sales and signups shares are for. So trust and core content posts are all providing value. And this is something that sometimes people who have been creating a lot of educational posts need to shift their belief a little bit, because they feel like I'm not giving any value. But actually all these things provide massive value. Can you imagine the impact for somebody that was wanting a certain outcome but had an old belief that was holding them back? So maybe what I see a lot, actually, I don't know, it's coming up a lot this month, that people say, oh, I really want to have a 10K or 15K business, but maybe I need to build my website first. And that's a belief they have because it's so normalized, or like 10 years ago, okay, a website is it. That's how you can show yourself on the internet. Actually, it's not true. It's not a belief that serves you in this circumstance, because my website is now being revived. I get a complete new website at the end of the month. And of course, I'm giving instructions, so I'm involved in the whole process. But it's so nice that right now I have so many funds for somebody else to focus on the details. And I have a 6-figure business. So for me, I actually didn't need to have a website, because my website right now really looks like shit. It's really, really not okay. And I'm really happy that it's changing. But I didn't need it for making a lot of money. So that's a belief shift. And right there, if you were still thinking about that you needed a website first, then now by giving these examples, my own story, I shifted that belief for you, probably. I'm not going to go too deep into this right now because it's not in the context of the course. And I also put a win here from Cynthia. Cynthia joined the Magnetic Mastermind when she started the High Five Content Mastery. So she's in the Magnetic Mastermind. And I thought this win was also super relevant for the High Five Content Mastery program. She said, I literally changed one thing in messaging, adding how would it be for you? And I got this amazing message of one of my dream clients for the future. Sorry, lads, is in Dutch. I didn't teach her how, but she got hooked on my insights. Now I need to learn how to sell on it, because the how is what I do in my coaching trainings. Anyways, thought I'd celebrate. And this is so good, because it's just that little tweak that gets you more engaged with your audience, more connected with your audience, and it provides actually a lot of value for them. That's why I put it on this slide, because you also felt that it was extra value. So not just value posts, the traditional value posts are valuable. That's a big shift. Belief shifting posts. I put here some examples. I'm not going to read all of them out loud because we don't have time for that, but I'm going to share the slides so you can read over them yourself. You can also always open my social media profiles. I'm very embodied in what I do. Literally all these posts are from the last months. And yeah, I have so many more posts because I'm doing this for a long time already in a very profound way. The belief shifting post, it's really about, okay, here, so we start with leads who rarely reply for months, ghosting you and not replying to your messages until they pop up again. So this is a situation that happens for people and they might not understand why. So I wanted to create awareness and shift their beliefs. And then I'm first talking about the current situation, then I'm talking about what's going on, then I'm talking about what is available for them, and then how they can actually get there. So I give also these steps, like, how do you do this? So I am talking about the how, but I'm giving like a hint of it. And then after the steps, I start with the call to action. That's what we're going to talk about today as well. My posts, you're going to see in these examples, are quite long. It doesn't mean you have to write long posts. It means that's my preferred way of writing it. You do need these different elements. So you could maybe use one sentence about what is going on for them, then and then one sentence about where they want to be, and make it really short. And then the end, like from I don't think you can see my arrow in the screen, but from the here's what you'll learn in Magnetic, that is where the call to action already starts. So that's something I just copied and pasted at the end of the post, which we're going to talk about today as well. So it looks also like my posts are super long, and it's actually, it's not that long to write for me, but also complete permission to not make them long and make them shorter, although you might want to mix that up as well. Belief shifting in different formats, and that's what I want to show. Like, you don't have to have a long post. This one on the left is actually quite short. It's just the first 4 paragraphs that speaks to a belief shift, and then you have the call to action. And here the belief shift is mixed in a metaphor. Have you ever been in a relationship where the other person was not sure anymore? I have. And we're going to talk more about this, but here you also see a little bit of me opening up and sharing some vulnerability and sharing, like, okay, this has been going on for me and this is how I felt. And then I make it relevant and I talk about how that is actually important in the energy in how you show up in your business. So when you feel like you're not sure about somebody, you have this wobbly energy and the other person is not going to feel great. Same when you're not sure about your business and how you want to show up. So you want to feel that conviction. Yeah, I love truth bombs, Erin says in the comments. Yeah, I love them as well. And these are some reels, so it's very short talking to the truth bomb. But a truth bomb, or maybe a reality check, or however you want to call it, it's short, it's sweet, it's sharp, and you can just start with that headline that just captures them in. And it's also based around the belief shifts. And it's just a different format to do a belief shift. And here you see, okay, this post, the strategy behind free content that converts high-paying clients, is actually the same as what I created this short post from. So if you write this big post, you can also use it and use little pieces of it and put it in a separate post. And this is not even that long of a post. But yeah, that's how you can play with it and how you can use different formats as well. Behavior changes. So here you see me talking about a behavior and something somebody might be doing right now. So copying your coach's strategy to sell high-priced offers won't work. Here's why. So in the headline, I also give them a hint, like, hey, actually, there is an alternative. You can fix this. So I'm talking to, okay, this is what's happening right now. And I also qualify them, like, this is for every badass entrepreneur who has invested in business coaches and isn't a millionaire yet, or making 10K months, even though the promise of the program said that you would by now. So I'm talking to the desire, but I'm also kind of like using the pain, but in a more uplifting way, like, hey, it's not your fault kind of way, and we can fix this. And then I talk a little bit more about what's going on in their life, and then I give them a solution. So there must be something wrong with you, right? I say wrong. So I speak to that. I shift that belief. because they probably thought, hey, this doesn't work for me. So that's the belief shift that I'm doing there. And then we just go on and we just kind of like flip the script. So flip the script before it's too late. So I activate them. Hey, you can change this. And then it's an easy fix. And then I just kind of like round it up, and then the call to action starts. So you actually don't really see when the call to action starts or doesn't start, which we're going to talk about. Cynthia says, so this is where you're educating as part of the trust. Yeah, so I think this is good to, and there is no science in content. And in this session, it's going to show really easily, because I kind of categorized the different types of posts, and I gave you some sort of roadmap to work with, like how to get them ready to buy from you, but they are very intertwined. Like here, I'm also speaking to the belief shifting, but it's also a behavior change, because I'm very specific about, this is something you're doing right now. You're copying your coach's strategy, or something that you tried and didn't work for you. I'm shifting their belief as well. So they're a little bit of the same type of post. But if you're only belief shifting without actually being specific about what they've tried before and what they can do differently, then you're not really giving them the next step after shifting that belief. But also I'll speak to this more in the next examples, because in the different types of posts, you'll see that there's a lot of mixes going on. This is even more specific behavior changes, because here I say 5 things I won't do while scaling my premium business to 10K months. So I would not do. So the things that might not make sense looking back at my journey, and I want to prevent that for you. So I'm being very specific, like these are 5 things that you should not be doing. I'm actually gonna read the questions after. I always do this. I always try to peek, but I'm gonna do the questions at the end, because we don't have time to weave them in now. And this is on the right, it's my Facebook post. On the left, it's my Instagram post. So it's the same post, just in a different format. And in the 5th session, we're going to talk about how I do that with the system, because I actually do not recommend for you to create it yourself. I recommend to focus on one specific platform, focus on that, and have somebody in your team make the other type of posts. Educational post. So here, and actually this was also something I noticed, I don't do a lot of education posts, and I could weave in a few more for extra authority. So this is my learning from creating these slides, but this is one I did on October 24th. 5 ways to create more trust with your content so your audience becomes ready to buy from you way faster. So then I speak to these things. The call to action at the end is actually for this course, for the High Vibe Content Mastery course. So you also see, I knew in this phase, I was selling the High Vibe Content Mastery course. And that's why I already knew, okay, the educational post is going to be about content, and it's going to be about 5 things in content that you should not be doing. So it all makes sense. Client results. And this is the long format of the client results. I'll show you shorter ones too. And again, on Facebook and on Instagram, I posted it. So I start with talking about the full result, like the why somebody should read this, why it's interesting for them. So my client Gemma, a quantum leap coach, made 10K in, or a little bit more than 10K. She calculates in pounds. She's from the UK, in 5 days, and sold her one-on-one after raising the price with 1,150 euros. So that's the short transformation. Then I speak more to that and I explain, okay, she's been in the Magnetic Mastermind for about 7 weeks. We've worked on her messaging and niching down. She raised her prices and is currently launching her group program. Then I go to, okay, where was she before we started working together? And that was already worked with a few business coaches, invested in courses, certified quantum leap coach. So she was an expert. And this is where I'm qualifying also the person reading this. Like, can you identify with this? Deep desire to scale her business online and serve more clients, doing a lot too much, feeling the desperate guy at the bar energy. And then after only 7 weeks, we were able to shift that. So we take the person in this journey and make it very vivid. Like, okay, she was able to make these results. And here you talk to the benefits. So for me, in this case, it's very tangible to share, like make 10K more in 5 days, selling her one-on-one offers, and a group offer and having her biggest month yet. She raised her prices, she gained clarity, she tweaked her messaging. If you don't have these tangible results, it doesn't matter. I don't like to talk about tangible or intangible, and it kind of gets you stuck. For everybody who's a mindset coach or a quantum leap coach like Gemma is, or NLP, really speak to the benefits. What is the benefit they got from working with you? And it doesn't matter if that's tangible or not, because even if somebody is not visible for the eye or not quantifiable, does not mean that it's not the best thing that can happen to them. So then I talk more about, okay, these small tweaks we were able to make all the difference in who she's attracting. In the next month, we'll work on this. So I show kind of like the future. My personal highlight of working with Gemma, I kind of like to put that in there because I'm very connected with my clients. And this also shows a little bit more of my personality. And that's what you can read in the whole text, like my tone of voice. That's why scripts don't really work, why it's really important to make it your own and have your own vibe in it. And then if it's a match, again, the call to action for the Magnetic Mastermind, because she's in the Magnetic Mastermind. So for the person reading this, they want to know more, and this is how you can join or how you can get more information. So more client results, and what I really focus on with the client results is the headline. And this is Melly. She was in the Premium Breakthrough course before she joined the Magnetic Mastermind. And this is her result. Like she was in the self-study course, the Premium Breakthrough course. And in, I think it was 4 or 5 months, with also a lot of breaks in between, she shared about her process. She was able to make a 10x ROI. So she made almost 10K from it. I think when she joined the price from the Premium Breakthrough course, I think she joined in one of the launches. And I just speak to her results and how that is also available for you. And actually, for the people in the High Vibe Content Mastery who are not ready for the Magnetic Mastermind yet, this is a really nice complementary course where you are looking into like how you can create your offer, how you can build your sales system out for the first round. It's really a nice complementary course next to what you're learning now about content. Then there's client results that you can share with a print screen. So that's what I've been doing also to promote the High Vibe Content Mastery course, where I had this beautiful print screen from Marijn, who was in the Magnetic Mastermind. And he shared about how after we tweaked his specific post a little bit in the Q&A call, he posted the exact same post again. Within an hour, somebody booked a sales call. And on the sales call, there were no objections. He was just in that client. So that's one of the print screens that really amplifies trust in that I am qualified to teach you how to tweak your content. And that's what I speak to here as well. And then the call to action also starts quite early in this post. So it's only like the headline after optimizing the post. The High Vibe Content Mastery course is an advanced course, and this is what you'll learn. And that's already the call to action. Client results and video testimonials. I often invite my clients to do an interview because we can go a lot deeper and it's a lot more fun, and you get the energy of my clients and you know what the vibe is of the people in the Magnetic Mastermind, which is something I'm really proud of. The vibe is so good. My clients are amazing. And also the headline here is again super important because you see, okay, here you can read the headline. Here you can also, Sydney signed her first pay in full 2,700 client after 2.5 weeks in Magnetic. So I'm speaking to the type of results. And you also see, you can only see the headline in this short snippet right now. Client results, short post. So of course you can write a really long post, which is super beneficial because somebody truly gets the vibe and you can share a lot more about the ins and outs of your program and also qualify a lot more, like where was this client in their journey to be able to get these type of results. So I do not recommend to only share short client wins because it can be misleading. And at the same time, it is also really nice to capture somebody's attention to share a short post. So one of the results from, it's a celebration post. So it also gets quite a lot of engagement. So on the left, I celebrated a client, a business coach who had a 6K month in October and has been consistent 4 and 5K months since starting to work with me. And before, I'm not really sure, but I think it was very fluctuating and also around 2K, I think. So I really, and then I add in, I love it when my clients feel results on the rise. So it's a little bit of me in there. And also Gemma, who fully booked out her one-on-one with her quantum mindset program. And I intentionally also drop hints here, like what is the type of clients that I'm working with. So it's the structure of I'm sharing client results, but I'm also adding a little bit more flavors to it. Own results. So obviously I also share my own results. It's embodied work. And this was also something that I grew into more because it can also be a lot of bragging, and that's something you need to own and that you should own, because we're doing freaking amazing things. And I am really proud of my offers and of my clients that I help in their transformations. So I get to brag now and I own it. But at the same time, I also wanted to have a little bit of a balance there. And for me, that's the vulnerability to share, like, hey, I got these results. How did I feel on the back end? So this is my own style, my own flavor. I don't see a lot of people doing this. Actually, I've never seen them do it. And one of the biggest ways and formats was when in this year in April, I had a 25,000 month. And I wanted to share about it, but I also felt really shy about it. I felt really scared to share it. And I felt kind of like, what would this change? Because people look at you differently when you make more money. So that's also what the share is a little bit about, being really vulnerable, really sharing like, hey, I want to celebrate, but something is holding me back. And that's also some inner work that I needed to do to step into that next level, because 2 months after I had a 36,000 euro month. And it's also about the holding capacity. So there again, sure, your business should have strategy, but it's also about the energetics. And that's what I include in the Magnetic Mastermind as well, where it's that balance. So this is not just me sharing results. This is me sharing embodied results of I'm being vulnerable. I'm sharing how I'm going through this process. I'm sharing that I am actually doing what I'm saying I'm doing. And this for me looks like sharing results, financial results, because I'm in the wealth market. So the wealth market makes sense for me to talk about. If you're in the health or in the relationship market, you can share about this, but it will be less relevant for the type of clients that you're trying to call in. So always make sure you're speaking to the right desire for the clients that you want to call in. And then I did, I think it was yesterday actually, this post. In October, I made a little less than 15K sales. This is the exact amount. And I also set foot in 5 different countries, slept in 8 different houses, and worked in the most creative offices. So that is mixing in my results with something else that happened. And that in this case also speaks to the desire of wanting to have this free lifestyle of a digital nomad, and kind of like talking about how I managed that and what were the upsides and the downsides of it. So again, embodied. The breakthrough story, and this is a template that you can use for your own results, for your client results. I will show you the template in a bit as well. And here I just take people on this journey with me. So I take them from, well, I'll show the example. And yeah, you can just read this in the slides that I'm going to share. This is another breakthrough story, a shorter one, because this one is very, very long, and it doesn't have to be long. You can do 1 sentence per part in the template, and this is the template. So you can do like 1 sentence about the background story, where you are, what the starting point is, or what like I would include already the end results as well, not just call in I'm here, but to say like, this is the full transformation. Then you speak to the desire. Then you speak to the challenges that you had along the way, or that the person had along the way. And you talk about the external ones, the visible for the world. So maybe you were limited in, like for me, I was limited in my office space and where I physically was in the world. And that makes sense, right? But how was I feeling during that time? What impact did those external things actually have on me? To share about that is more juicy to read. Then you talk about the problem or the wall, the thing that was stopping you. Then the epiphany, so finding out the solution, which will be your method most of the time. Then the plan of how to actually deal with everything. Then another conflict. And then the end result that I achieved or that somebody else achieved. And the full transformation. So this is something that you probably want to read and then put next to my post and kind of like see what happened there. This is also the format that I use for the client testimonials. And this is something that I always create for every offer, for every mid-priced offer, not for the low-priced offers. So I also created it for the High Vibe Content Mastery course, and every offer, so I have it for the Magnetic Mastermind, every offer has a different angle to this story. Some people also know this as the hero story. I call it the breakthrough story because it's really about the breakthrough. It's not about the hero, it's about the breakthrough. It's about the breakthrough for the person reading it. So not even your own breakthrough. It's really about who you want to call in. And that means sometimes you're writing a story based on what happened to you, and you are allowed to leave out some parts of that story that feel super true to you, that are super true to you, but are not in the highest good of serving your brand. So it is creating a breakthrough story to focus on the brand of the offer that you're selling. And that means if you started at a super low point in your breakthrough story and you weren't your ideal client, you can tweak that a little bit. Not lie, of course, but to leave out parts that will call in the wrong person. Does that make sense? Put it in the chat if it makes sense. See a little bit nodding. It's a lot of information today, so of course it needs to sink in, and you just need to play with these templates. But this is one of my favorite ones. I see Cynthia, I love this template. Awesome. So activate and desire. Activate to the desire and the hero. And this is, yeah, like this is one, there's not a lot of different types of posts in this, but it's really kind of like motivational speech vibe. And I love this. I really love, I'm going to play also more in the future with making like motivational speech videos because I really like it. But it's really about activating people and qualifying them. And yeah, the chocolate is so present here. There's just a little bit of broccoli, and your other post can balance that out more. But it's really speaking to the chocolate and the hero. And it can be just as simple as this. Like I did here a little video calling somebody. It's a little bit also of a behavioral change, but it's also like the text in the video, stop playing small with your content if you want more high paying clients. That is a little bit more the behavioral change. In this video, I'm just telling to people, hey, I know you desire this. This is what you want. This is where we're going. This is what it can look like for you. Really speaking to that outcome. And on the left, I speak to, you know, that growing your business has more to do with learning the business side of things than becoming better at what you do. And it's just until the red stripe. It's just a little bit of activation. And then actually already the call to action starts. So activate internal urgency. And this is what we talked about, what could be missing if people are not actually booking your offers right now, if they want to wait for 5 months. You could just do something really short and sweet and simple. You're never going to be as young as you are now. Do what you're meant to be doing right now. It's just speaking to the core, like, hey, take action. And people really dig these type of posts, so they are really engaged with it. And it can also be a little bit of a longer post, like, if not now, then when, to really speak to that and to weave in both logic and emotions. The buy, and this is something most of you probably are not doing enough right now. The lead generation, so the freebie that does the hand raising where you can collect leads, but also email addresses. Direct sales posts, so being really direct, like buy this or if you're thinking about buying, or also just a 2-step post where you're sharing about your offer. Offer details, so to talk about the offer journey or why your offer isn't like others. And also, again, the urgency. So here you see also the urgency was at the activation, but the urgency is also at the buy. So it's not this clear framework, like this post belongs here and this post belongs there. It's really, okay, this is kind of the flow of how you want to get people to buy faster. And this is what you can play with to give you a bit more structure, but it is a little bit fluent as well. Lead generation. So this is the lead generation post that raise hands, and you see this is actually already more offer post because I'm thinking about running a workshop, and this is a really nice way to test if there's interest in something that you're creating. And of course you can play with the title. If the title is good from your offer, from what you're writing here, then you get engagement, and you see some people engaged. Also here, I'm doing a free content that sells masterclass, learn the free strategy behind free content to get high paying clients. So I'm speaking to the thing, I'm speaking to the outcome, and people raise their hands to get an invite for it. And here I'm mixing that with celebrating that I have a lot of signups for the free masterclass. And also, again, the title, premium offers and 10K a month in any niche without feeling salesy. Who else joins? And then again, a few people raising their hands. A direct sales post can be super direct, and it's not per se for engagement. It's just to show that you have your offer, and your most hot leads will see this and might reach out. So you do want to repeat and show that you have an offer, because if it's just hidden somewhere below in the call to action, some people might actually miss that. So this is a really nice post to mix in. You could just do 3 spots opening when it's opening, however you want to talk about your offer. Here I actually put an extra incentive. So DM me Magnetic today and claim an extra one-on-one messaging session. Sometimes I do this, sometimes not. Sometimes it's just a post like, hey, join. Offer details journey. This is a really profound explanation, and I post this every month. Yeah, I'm almost like, sometimes I skip a month, but I post it every month, again and again and again, the same post. I tweak it a little bit, I make it fresh, and it just really goes into the Magnetic Mastermind journey of phase 1, the premium foundation, why that's relevant. Within this post, also some belief shifting happens. So I speak to some beliefs that they have within the different phases. Then the second phase, high vibe messaging, what you can expect there, some logic, some emotion, how you will feel, that if you're in this phase, you will create an offer that evokes the, oh my God, this offer is made for me. Then you have the sales system that works for you. I speak a bit to that. The 4th phase, CEO consistency. So everything they need to know that maybe normally you would hide in a sales call and you would just present it there. Just put it in your content, bring it forward, have people have the information they need to get excited. And another one, offer details, is really speak to why is it not like any other offer out there. And that's what I posted beginning of this month. Let's talk about why the Magnetic Mastermind isn't like any other mastermind out there. I go into detail on it. People who need to read this will read it. Your most hot, warm audience will see your post first. And also this type of post sometimes get engagement from current clients. Like one of my clients underneath this post put something like, yes, I'm in Magnetic. It's amazing. You should join. And that's always super nice to receive. Urgency. So just general urgency post. You can do like a really quick short post saying last day to sign up. And then most of the time I put something in the comments with a bigger explanation, with a call to action. You can play with that. There's no science here. You can do it with or without. I actually like it to give a bit more information, but also my VA schedules all these things. So it's not actually me doing that work right now. So it's not taking me extra time. Then there's an urgency post that just like, it starts with final call. So you're being really direct. And then it's basically the call to action. Thinking I should have explained the call to action first before all of this, but it's coming in a bit. And then here also just the beginning of this post, I was in a launch for the HVCM Content Mastery. So the post itself is not an urgency post. It's, I think, the full transformational post here. But in the beginning, I added this flavor of urgency. And offer details is really the information you see on a sales page that you need to rationally make the decision. So if you have a sales page for your offer, you can already go there and take those pieces off, put it in your content and put it on your socials. The love post. So this is about the vulnerability that really reflects the post with vulnerable shares, lessons, growth. It can also be the breakthrough story with personal stories or conflict. It is also from the past, but it can also be a very day-to-day vulnerable share of something that just happened this week. So it can be really deep, can be a bit more shallow, but it's about showing that vulnerability. It can also be about values and the mission and why you're doing what you do. And it's about core values. So not just I like dogs, but really the core, like I am a digital nomad. I like freedom is a desire, is a core value of me. So this is how I'm implementing it in my life. I'm very focused on health. This is how I'm implementing that in my life. Wealth is important to me. Really showcasing the embodiment of what you talk about and explaining why it's important to you, because people don't know that. And by explaining that, they can relate, they can like what you're saying about that, and they can connect. Also the vibe and the lifestyle. So that's a little bit more entertainment, showing what's going on, like just the gossip, daily things. Yeah, the you show, to really like have that kind of like celebrity vibe, or the you show, like people want to hear about you as a person as well. Show yourself, but stay on brand. So if you're only sharing about your dog for a full year, then probably you're going to attract people who like watching dogs and not actually your ideal client. So be on brand. You can share your dog every now and then, but it shouldn't be the main show that you're hosting on your socials. And you can also do polarizing posts that activate love or hate. And this really calls in like-minded people. And it's about taking a stand. It's about leadership, and it's about really, really getting out of vanilla land and building true fans. So it's an opportunity for people to decide if they hate or love you. And in between, in the like, there's not a lot of money to earn. There's not a lot of deep connections to build. Really, the love or hate is what separates your people from people that are better off working with somebody else. Not because, yeah, like for many reasons. If you're not a good match with that person, if you don't like them, you're not going to show up as best as the coach that you can be for them. But also, if they don't like you as much, they're not going to show up for actually doing the work as well. These are some examples. And with love, it's not that there's a different type of post or format for everything, but it's kind of combined. So I combine always the vibe, the values, the vulnerability, and I make it relevant. So this is the post I shared yesterday about my income from the month, but also how I managed to live the kind of like the shit show that it was last month in my personal life, but still the systems running the show for me, making it able for me to show up. And that's what I shared about in a vulnerable way. I see Cynthia, it's so important to love posts, stories, etc. too much. Oh, I'm so comfortable. Sorry. Yeah. Big aha, stay on brand. Yes. And that's like, you can, even when you want to share something, just prime yourself to think like, how can I stay on brand with this? What weaves it back into what is relevant? This is another post that I did about the 3Vs, or like it was just a share from me from Boom Festival where I went this year in Portugal, like a big festival, like Burning Man, but a little bit smaller, but really big still. And I personally really like to journal and to write. I think writing and journaling makes you really aware. It's part of the premium identity. And for me to then share that honesty and vulnerable actually adds to my brand if I do it every now and then. Here is again the breakthrough story, which is both a breakthrough story that builds trust, but it's also the same breakthrough story that builds love, because I show like little pieces and bits of me. And like here, the sentence, "Hey you, I'm May," pronounced May, like amazing. Time to share a story with you of how I become the high-level sales mentor I am today. So I'm anchoring in, this is why it's relevant. But then let's start with a quick introduction. So I'm sharing like, I'm from the Netherlands. I'm a digital nomad. That's my lifestyle. My favorite place is Tenerife. This is an old post. I think now might still be, but I also really love Ericeira, where I'm living now. I love adventure, spirituality, singing and dancing in the shower. And soon I'm buying my first van. Well, my van is still in Tenerife. So all these things kind of like weave in together. Love and embodiment and trust, and can also be really short. Like I did this short post like, I just invested $25,000 in my mastermind I'm joining for 2024. Can't wait to meet that version of me. And this is really exciting. It got also a lot of engagement because people were celebrating with me. But this is also for me embodiment, because I teach that having a coach by your side and being in the space and being in a mastermind and having this place where you can connect and share, like you're experiencing here now in the High Vibe Content Mastery in a little bit, but in the Magnetic Mastermind, it's daily support. It's people who are dedicated to this whole growth path. And that's what I want for myself as well. I want to feel that support that I'm able to give to others. And that's what I talk about also a lot, how being a coach means being open to receive in the same level as you're willing to give. That's what coaching is about when it comes from a pure nature in how I see it. Because otherwise, if you're just giving, then there's a mismatch. So this for me is an embodied post. I also posted last week about the hypno session that I did. I do weekly hypnotherapy sessions. I'm in a 6-month program. And I shared about my breakthrough of people pleasing and how people pleasing is very present in my day-to-day life. And it's an old pattern that I want to let go of, because I know in business, it is not serving me. This is the storytelling template. Basically, you can just take it, and all the templates are a little bit the same, but slightly different in how you want to tell your story. But all, of course, start with the headline and end with the call to action. And what happens in between is a little bit of a guiding towards how you can do that. So yeah, you start with your headline with emotion and curiosity. Then your big result today, take them back to when they didn't have that result. So you reveal that is like relevant to your ideal clients. Then you fast forward to today, where they are instead, and you invite them to join you, to come there and to include them. You want to talk about, I would love this for you as well, or this is available for you, or this is how you can get there. And then give them a call to action to actually make that change and to activate them to change. Also, some love quotes. So this is what I posted also after the hypno session. Like, I'm done with people pleasing, and people really liked that. They were cheering for me because I was just in a high vibe of like, this is what's going to happen. This is how I'm leading the path. And yeah, again, you're never going to be as young as you are right now. Polarizing love, hate. Actually, I don't post as much of this, but it can really be your style. For me, I just kind of like do this or that posts, and it kind of is something because I know people who like ads are most likely not the best fit for me. Organic, hell yes, because that's how I've been building my business so far. But you can be a lot more outspoken, taking a stand, liking a certain celebrity, or I think I did a post once about how I like manifesting, but most people just use it to hide behind it and not actually take action. That is also polarizing because some people will feel called out by it. Some people will actually really love that I'm saying it. And if this is more your style, you can play with that, of course. Engaging content. It's about celebration posts, hand raise posts, freebies and signups. Polarizing, again, can also get a lot of engagement because you're really taking a stand. And it can also just be quotes or call to action engagement. If you don't want, like you don't just want to engage for the sake of engagement. I actually don't have a lot of engagement on my posts. I have enough engagement for people to see it. I could probably tweak in a little bit more and make some more kind of not viral, but like more engaged posts. But at the same time, engagement is not sales. So don't be fooled by that. And yeah, I make 6 figures. So there's no need to like, of course, if I'm going to scale, this is something I'm going to look into more. And of course, the more leads you can get, the better. But it's about quality and not quantity. So that's something I also wanted to highlight. Celebration post. So yeah, celebrating clients. Cynthia, who joined the mastermind, I celebrated that. People like those things. People want to celebrate with you. It's a high vibration. Also 80 signups for content for the masterclass. People really want to celebrate with you. They want to see you win. Your audience wants to see you win. So even if you're not signing a new client this month or whatever is going on, share what you can celebrate because it elevates your state. It activates your premium identity, and people really like it. People really like to celebrate. Some of the love quotes, I already showed this post, but just to show, like, this also had a lot of engagement about people pleasing. And sometimes you only get a few leads. So here I had 4 comments. I think 1 was a lead, but that can still be the one that signs up, especially when your messaging is really on point, when you're really clear who you're talking to, and all your other posts lead also into this. That can be a really high quality lead. And sometimes these posts don't work at all, and you can feel a little bit embarrassed and shamed about it. Especially, I think a few years ago, I had that. Right now, I really don't give a fuck. I really don't. I post, I see how it lands. I register it. So I'm not just being like, okay, oh, fuck that, it didn't work. I'm also thinking, okay, it didn't work. Why? And I know, for instance, for this one, for the free 6-figure business strategy Q&A call, it is already fully booked for tomorrow for the live spots. I think actually 1 spot might be left. But this is something that is really only for warm and hot leads. People who already know my work, because why are you going to show up for a Q&A call if you don't know if that person is sharing value? So to me, it actually makes sense that this is not performing as well. Although last time it actually did get me 1 or 2 leads. So it's also just like playing with it. But then this one, the quick poll, I just tried it. It didn't work, and it might work next time. I might want to tweak something. But yeah, that happens. And it's really about leadership energy in that scenario. Like, really stay with it and hold the space for it, and don't get into this spiral of, oh, nobody likes my content, nobody's engaging, because it doesn't matter. There could still be somebody that's watching it, that sees it, that likes it, and it's just 1 post in all your other posts. So what 1 or 2 types of posts are you going to create more of? You can drop it in the chat. I'm curious to see like what stayed with you from these examples and what you want to like integrate more into your business. And I also made this overview to like put it in here. So what you can do is you can print screen it. You can just print the slides when I share them with you, and maybe hang it somewhere and get more used to it. And to remember, like, it is not this structured thing. It's more this fluent journey of how you can get people to actually buy your offers faster, and then see what's happening in your audience and play with them and engage with them and see, okay, this is what's going on and how I can integrate more of that. Aaron says trust. Yeah, it's such an important one. How much personal shares? I got this question sometimes, so I just wanted to put it in. But yeah, like 20 to 80% or 1 to 4 or whatever works for you. Like I think I do 10% now, but I could do 20%. I really like writing all these things, but I just haven't had the time when I was traveling as much. But yeah, it's really up to you, but make sure that 75% is about sales, because that's what your business is about. And you can also mix it into your other posts like I've shown you. So belief shifting or breakthrough stories, educational posts, they can all even be with examples from your personal story, and then include personal side notes. So sprinkling a little bit of that love factor. Different formats of post. I'm going to talk about this more in the next session, but I already showed you a few different examples. And just for you to know that this is something we will talk about in the, I think it's the 5th session. But to also know to mix this up a little bit, because if you're never doing any videos anywhere, it's very hard for somebody to catch your energy. And if you're only doing videos, somebody who's new into your world might not be as engaged yet to actually open your video and spend time watching that. So mix it a little bit. And it takes time to master these things. And actually, I am like doing this in my business. I'm for my business, and I started my Instagram program profile beginning of 2023, and it already looks so much better on the left side now than it was. But this is just the image, and it doesn't have to look pretty. It's more about the messaging behind it. And I wanted to show this because I was scrolling down my Facebook profile trying to look for a not so good post, but I've been creating so much good content over the last year that I had to scroll and I couldn't find anything, so I just put the Instagram here. But if you have the time and you want to like analyze my Facebook profile, if you scroll down 4 years, I'm sure you will, I think actually 2 years ago, you will find some funny things, and that's okay. That's part of the process. So the call to action. Okay, we don't have a lot of time left, but this is still a really, really important one. Everybody who needs to go sooner, you can catch the replay, of course. And I'm just going to make sure that I finish the slides and make everything that I have to give for you today. So the call to action. This is the best way to explain it. If you right now are saying, DM me if you're interested, or if this resonates, you're basically giving them this beautiful story of belief shifting and behavioral change and whatever the post was about, or the breakthrough story. You're giving them everything, and it's basically like you had a heartwarming conversation with somebody you just met, and at the end of the conversation, instead of like having a normal ending, you say, oh, bye, and you turn around and you walk away. How many of you are still doing that in the call to action right now, to just kind of like give them, have them have breakthroughs, and then at the end, okay, bye, I'm gone. I see Cynthia, the left picture is me. Yeah, so this is what actually a lot of people in the space do, and it's what most people teach. And I was very lucky that one of my coaches, Elena Ray, I mentioned her before already, she's a big inspiration for me for content. She taught me this, and I made it my own, and it makes so much sense, because it's kind of like you want to wrap a warm blanket around them. You don't want to leave them hanging. You want to like exchange contacts, make sure that you know when to see them again, how like maybe share some appreciation for the conversation that you had, and share like, I want to do this again, I want to see you again. That's the vibe more, and that's what we call the strong and safe call to action. So the thing with the call to action is you want to have a smooth transformation from the part of the text to the call to action, which I call the bridge sentence. You want to take up space and give them time to consider the call to action. So there's no rush energy here. Sometimes you also have the webinars. I don't know if anybody went deep into learning how to give webinars. I did. And also even the bro marketing, they say, don't rush the pitch. Give the offer and then talk about some things, and then give the offer again, because they need time to process all of that, right? And that's a little bit what the call to action does as well. So you want to be highly specific. Who is this offer for? option, who is it not for? What is the value for them and why does it matter? What is the one thing that they should do for the next step? And also give them safety. What is that next step? Are there costs involved? What can they expect? And then call them to rise. So activate the hero for actually making a change. This call to action qualifies your people so that they know that they are a good fit or not for the type of work that you do. And this really makes this makes you really get the right leads, but it also will make those leads feel really seen and like called in by you, because you know who you're talking to, you know who you're for and who you're not for. And it also filters out the people that you're not for, because they won't even reach out because they understand I'm not at that level, or I'm not a good match, whatever that means in the context. And it also introduces them to the offer and invites them to take the next step, which is what we want, right? In our content, we want to actually sell. So why do we use strong and safe call to actions? To call in quality leads for that next step, to provide the safety in taking that next step, and for them to actually be interested in that. And because that next step is actually like, the free content is nice, but it's not the transformation that they actually need. So to sell to them is the best thing you can do for them. And this is also where you claim that leadership and the leadership energy, you guide them the way. You tell them like, hey, this was amazing, this text that you read this, and now this is what we can do next. So you're guiding them. You position yourself as approachable. So you actually share that they can reach out to you, which, like, if you're not having enough DMs right now, if you're not having people reach out to you, you need to tell them that that is what you want. People need to hear what they need to do. Especially on social media, you really want to give them clear directions. Like, this is what I want from you. So if you're not, if some results stay out, talk more about that is actually an option. Yeah. And you are a business, so you want to be selling, right? That's the next best step after reading your post, is for them to actually start the conversation or actually buy from you, because the best thing you can do for them is sell to them. You don't want to leave them hanging. And that's probably also, Cynthia, what you recognize, to share a story and then to not share the next step. So always share a call to action. And if you're getting your audience hyped up by a really nice post that shifted beliefs, that gave them breakthroughs, and they're sitting behind their computer being like, oh my God, this is insane that I'm reading this right now. This changed everything. Then it's kind of rude to leave them hanging and to not give them the next step. So call to action is kind of like tour guide vibes. And if you're just saying like, yeah, I don't know where to go, sort it out yourself, that's what most people do with the DM if this resonates. Like, oh, you can DM if it resonates, just figure it out. Or you can just really guide them and be super specific. And this example says, if you look to the left, you'll see Spain. But it's more like, if you look to the left, you see the church from built in this year. And this is why you like watching it. And this is the story behind it. And you really want to like give them all the information they need. So be that tour guide. So you want to also have clarity in the call to action next step, which means either it's a sales call to action or engagement call to action. And you can decide the ratio there. For me, actually, I would say almost all of them are sales. And when there are sales, it's about engagement as well. And that's what I want to share now as well. Because engagement could be ask for a comment, a like, a share, a save, join your Facebook group, describe your month in one word, like these type of things. And selling, I put some examples here, but I'm only going to talk about the one that I recommend most. But you can play with this and find your own flavor. It can be for paid and free offers. And I would at least do 50-50 paid free. That's kind of the ratio I work with, but also just, yeah, your paid offers, they need to be shown. You cannot just only share freebies. Otherwise, you position yourself as somebody who only has freebies. What I do and what I learned for the last 3 months, because I got a little bit lazy with my own call to action where I was just referring people to go to my website, but it's a little bit lazy because people are lazy and they need you to be in that leadership energy. And especially because my website was not optimized yet, it still worked, it still converted, but not as much. And it is so much better to say, comment this specific word or emoji if you want the next step that we were talking about in the call to action. And that does that, it gives you both the engagement and the sale and the lead. So you can also do it with DM me or different examples, but with comments, you capture both. That's the one I recommend. That's the one I'm using from now on forward. after testing all these different ones in the last months. So some examples, I already showed some of these posts, but you see the red stripe of if not now, then when. At the bottom, that's where the call to action starts. So for the Magnetic Mastermind, I say like, you may be a good fit for the Magnetic Mastermind. And basically what I did, I wrote the if not now, then when post. And then I had this prepared call to action that I put underneath it. So also during writing it, you don't have to focus on selling because you know at the end you will add the call to action and you will be selling. You may be a good fit for the Magnetic Mastermind. My client Sydney, who is a holistic health coach, used one of the available strategies and signed her first pay in full 2,700 client in 2.5 weeks of joining the Magnetic Mastermind. You're likely to be a good fit for this and sell your premium offers consistently if you, and this is where I'm qualifying them, are a coach, expert, or healer who knows their shit and wants to transform lives. So I'm not working with anybody who is insecure about what they can actually do. That's then you need something else. I'm not the business strategist that can fix that for you. Have worked with clients before and had great results. No worries if you've had a premium offer in place. If you don't have a premium offer in place yet, we can help you transition too. Want to learn how to speak your ideal client's language that can evoke the, oh my God, I need to work with her and serve more clients. You want more control in when you sign premium clients and who they are. You're done waiting around for referrals or freebie seekers to finally be ready. And the hustle culture and showing up every day is not your vibe. You want to have sales systems that support you and trust that more clients are coming in. If this sounds like you and you want to attract premium clients, I invite you to send me a DM saying magnetic. And here I would now change it probably to comment. I'll ask you more about your business and we'll talk about what you're really wanting to create instead. So I'm creating safety by explaining what's going to happen. We'll have a chill, no pressure kind of conversation. And if it sounds like you're a good fit, I will provide you with some more information on the Magnetic Mastermind. I'll probably throw in some voice notes here and there too. I know you can feel this in your body. This is where I'm calling them to rise. And you're wanting to reach out to me. So I'm saying, hey, you can actually do that. Let me tell you, I'm excited too. I'd love to hear from you if you're ready to attract premium clients consistently in the next 4 or 12 months. Send me magnetic. So that's the call to action. And that's what you're going to create as well. But then for your own, and of course, I'm going to repeat it again. Don't just copy what I'm writing here and put in your things. Really make it your own. Start from scratch. Use this as inspiration because these things, like very specific phrases, sometimes I see clients copy this and then I also call them out on it. Like they really have the same, we'll have a chill, no pressure kind of conversation. Like even the words that I'm using there, and it's not their own energy. So it does not work as well. This is the end of one of the breakthrough posts, another call to action where I'm mixing it up a little bit and I'm focused mostly on client results. So I'm sharing a lot of the client results of what my clients had, like Renato, an empowerment coach, made 15K in the first 16 weeks. That was already 2 years ago. Almost 2 years ago. One of the first clients that joined Magnetic. And then at the end, I give a clear call to action of what they can do to get a freebie. This is the main call to action Magnetic. So I have like a different, in a document, I have like a long call to action with different aspects of the call to action. And what I do here, this is the one that you saw in the first post, and in the right one, there's like more, there's more, how do you say, like social proof in different ways with a little bit of belief shifting. So it gets to be more fluent now. And this is a very long one from the HiveApp Content Mastery course. So what I do for each offer should have a main call to action. You can make a very long one and then mix and match it up. You can start with one where you're just talking about and using the framework that I'm going to share. And it's just a thing that you need to have for that offer that you're selling in that specific time that you can just put underneath all of your posts. And it's such a game changer. So this is a very long one for the HiveApp Content Mastery. And I just took little pieces of it in different posts. So you will see like this part with the 5 things that you will learn inside. I used under certain posts. When you go back over these slides, you will see that in certain examples. Sometimes I only put like the scenarios. So I played with that and for people to just see different angles of why they should join. When do we use call to actions? We always use them. And if it's not selling, then it's engagement, but I actually always use the sales one. Most of you need to use more call to actions more consistently and with zero shame about it. You have a business and you don't need to be shy about that. If you are not making enough sales and you want to serve more clients, you probably are not making enough offers and you're not making them consistently enough and you're not actually having a strong enough call to action. So that's what needs to change. So if you're not keen to sell all the time for everything right away, you can also just use the 75% for the call to actions. During a launch, definitely 100%. You can also email a lot more during a launch. Let's talk more about that. And also how often. Every day selling. And I gave this example in the Content and Sales Masterclass already about a restaurant that also sells every day. You are a business. You want to sell every day. Empowering versus the suggestive tone in the, we talked about this before already, but this is also for the call to action. You really want to like speak to them to the highest version of themselves and not make them think, is this me? But really, oh my God, she is talking to me. This is me. Or could that be me? Like that edgy, like, wow, okay, she's calling me in for this. And I could see myself to be that. So you can play with that and make your call to action a bit more bold. And this is a template that you can use. I will share the slide so you will get this template also to use for the homework. You start with the bridge sentence, then you qualify them by talking about the things, beliefs, or results that they need to have in place, what they have tried before, so old methods that didn't work, the desire that they have, so the results, the benefits from your program, so match it already. You want to speak to that desire that matches the program. Specific characteristics that your ideal client has, and also specifically for the offer that this call to action is for. So an option you can add in more flavors. This is not for you if, to kind of like block people that are not a good fit. Social proof, like you saw in some of my examples, works also really well. Urgency triggers, so sometimes like extra bonuses for specific moments. And what I already said, like comment this word and then this will happen. So I would go with comment this and then call the hero to rise. So create one main call to action per offer. And I would just recommend to start with one offer, the main offer you want to be selling right now. Create that call to action, make it strong, make it safe, and reuse it for every piece of content that you create. Really. Change it slightly so it makes sense for the post that you wrote. So the bridge sentence you can like kind of like weave into how the post is starting. And then just make it better and more specific over time when you deepen the knowledge about your market and your offer. This is a summary. I'm not going to go over it now because of the time, but it is in the slides. Let me know, is this call to action landing for you? And are you excited to start playing with this new strategy? See, yes, from Erin, nice. Maddie says landing, awesome. Okay, and then a little bit more about the attention-grabbing headlines. These are some tips, but the headlines focus on the desire with emotion and curiosity. And don't start at the beginning of your story, start at the end result or at a surprising moment to capture them in. Think of your sweet spot clients, the raw hero, and really speak to them. And also check your, this will be a homework assignment, so I'll talk to it in a bit. Be specific and relevant. Who are you talking to? What is the desire? What is the method, the old methods? What have others tried? So really speak to these things that connect. Use uneven numbers. Uneven is kind of between brackets. It's just, that's a little bro marketing trick and it works. Like the 7 and the 9, all these, they are just a bit nicer for some reason. And it's tested. So there are like studies proving that it works good. So I just use that as well. And facts that also make it sound interesting. So a bit more rational. So balance the rational and the emotion, of course, the logic. Make it clear why they should read it, like what's in it for them. You saw examples in my posts already with like, this is what is happening now. And then between brackets, this is the solution. So you call them in with like, hey, I have something for you. And always check the headline after writing your copy. So when you've created the post, go back to the headline again, fine tune it, make it more juicy, check the chocolate, make sure that it's 100% relevant for your sweet spot client, for the one you want to call in. Because the headline is really the thing that makes them read or not read. We already spoke about this in a previous session, but when people are going over the timeline, when you are going over the timeline and seeing different posts, the headline is when you decide if you're going to read something, yes or no. So the headline needs to stand out. These are some examples, and I kind of categorize them a little bit. It's just things that I've used, that I've seen, just to give you a little bit of a head start, and you can just use them. And I want to give you a homework assignment to check your last 10 headlines and give yourself feedback there. And also, you can do a big content self-check. Some of you have been doing that already. Just ask yourself these questions, like how warm is your audience right now? What types of content should you create more of? What types of content can you create less of? Are you actually selling enough? Are you balancing emotion and logic enough? Are you engaging with your audience? Are you asking them to reach out? So literally asking for the thing you want. Are you using call to actions? Are they strong and safe and leading the way? And are your headlines grabbing attention of the right people, hooking them until your call to action? Because if your headline, and this is really important, I want to emphasize this more, if your headline is not grabbing the attention of the right people, then the wrong people will be reading the call to action. So you're probably not selling them as well. So the headline is also really important. Homework, show up in your premium energy and share minimum 1 premium change, big or small, that you've made so far in the Facebook group. So a little bit of accountability, a little bit of inspiring each other. What I've been doing lately is really working on my posture. And I decided I need to go again to start doing my nails. And for me, that really anchors in a little bit of premium identity in the feminine energy, and also to feel like, hey, actually, I can afford this, and I could afford this a long time ago. But it's really that moment of realizing what you can give to yourself because you have the money. So that's a little bit I've been doing. It can be super small, and it's just to integrate it in your normal days. Think of the lit up posts and check your main social media profile. See what type of post you're generally posting. How can you balance that more? Which content type or specific format should you depend less on, and which one should you create more of? Write 2 new pieces of content with this knowledge in mind, and check your last 10 written headlines. Are you speaking directly to your sweet spot client? Brainstorm a list of 15 attention-grabbing headlines for your specific clients. And I made a link here, but it's also a post that's going to be posted in, I think, 30 minutes. For everyone to share their headlines under to inspire each other. So you can also just use it as inspiration. Write your 1 strong call to action for your main offer and share it in a group and give each other feedback. And use this at the end of every post. That's how you're going to sell. So definitely do that. Next week, how to create momentum in your audience with a launch sequence and launch events, the easy and effective way. And how to have endless content creation ideas. And if you have questions, you can already drop them in the chat. I have a few to go over, and I don't want to go too long because I have a call with Cynthia after this for her onboarding in the Magnetic Mastermind. Share your aha from today in the chat. If you have questions, drop them in the chat. And I also wanted to say briefly, because some of you have been reaching out to me about the Magnetic Mastermind, that for whoever is in the High Vibe Content Mastery program and wants more. So you really want more than just the content. You want also more support, more feedback. You want to continue after this because this is only a short 6-week accelerator where we're really condensing a lot of time in how you can create content the right way. And if you're loving this and you love what I'm teaching and you want more and you want to scale your business beyond just the content and have sales systems in place, you want to work on your offers, you want to create a product suite that really complements each other, and you're just all in on your business and you are in this season of creating more wealth, then Magnetic is a really good fit for you. Obviously, reach out to me if you have questions. We can talk about it, but you can also apply at pleasureandselling.com/magnetic. And what I wanted to say, and this is why I'm bringing it up now, because I was saving this for one of the last sessions, but now so many of you already have shown interest. If you come from the High Vibe Content Mastery program, I would love to have you in Magnetic, because I know you're already so ready for this. You're already primed to take that next step. And I already got to know you a little bit. So I'm probably a really good fit for you to guide you further. And because of that, at the end, or actually before the end of the High Vibe Content Mastery program, if you decide to join Magnetic, you get a €500 discount, either for the 12-month option or the 4-month option. And if you want to know more about that, just send me a message. There are limited spots for every round, and you have to use the 500 voucher before the 6th of December. That's the last session of the High Vibe Content Mastery. So just wanted to share that. So for those who are thinking about it, you can already start thinking more about the decision. And of course, my DMs are open. I will start with the questions that I saw here. Cynthia asked, as I'm watching the replay of session 2, when putting a call to action in your post, is DMing sufficient? So that's what we talked about. Like I would do the comment instead of the DM, but you say, so if interested, send me a DM. I have no systems in place yet where they can either find more information or topics or events I'm hosting. Everything is houtje touwtje, which is definitely a Dutch saying. So yeah, definitely do the comments. You can also play with the DM for them to reach out, and then from there you can take it. And you don't need to have a sales page. Like even the HiveUp Content Mastery Program, when I was selling this the first round, I didn't have a sales page. I had a Google Docs with all the information. That's enough. And Cynthia, you're in the Magnetic Mastermind, so I can guide you there a lot more. I have more resources for you of how you can get them like on the next step for your offer. So we're definitely going to talk about that. And Madeleine, Maddie, I understand that for many posts, it makes sense to focus more on desire, transformation, and result outcome of the service than to focus on the method. However, I do see some coaches posting regularly explaining their exact framework and method. And I do appreciate this because it provides an opportunity to check if the method is aligned and resonates with what somebody is looking for. My question, is this something you would recommend? And if so, how often would you post content that dives deeper into the method framework? We talked about this today, so I think you have a lot more clarity already. But what is really interesting here, what I also wanted to highlight, is how you experience reading a post from other people is probably how your clients experience it as well. So that meta perspective, when you are seeing a post on a timeline and you're triggered, you're excited, you're curious, it shifts something for you, it brings you closer to the buying decision, then use that as feedback of how you can use it in your own posts as well. But yeah, this is what I'm also talking about with the chocolate and the broccoli, and finding that consent and getting them on that path of agreement. Because yes, you want to talk about the desire in the chocolate because that's what weaves them in. But then in the text, you want to also explain more. And you can also have these direct sales posts where you're really talking about this. Obviously, this is more for the people who already are a bit more warmed up or who make more logical decisions. So you will also see if you're writing a lot of logical posts, only logical posts, you will attract a lot of people who are more in their head. And if you like that, then go with that. If you want to attract more people who are leading by their own heart and by their desire, then weave that in. I personally like a balance of it, of people who are actually very rational, logical, practical, wanting to put in the work, but at the same time also have those desires. So I call it a bit like grounded spirituality. That's the type of client that I prefer to work with because that's how I see life as well. Erin, what type of content gets the most engagement? What are the components of a post intended for sales? I'm thinking the potential. Yeah, so this is kind of like the framework we talked about. And the call to action is the thing that can really, that shifts every normal post to a sales post. About engagement, we already spoke about it, that engagement is maybe not the right indicator to look at. Of course, it can really help, but you also have big profiles and Instagram profiles of people with 100,000 followers who have a lot of engagement, but aren't selling anything. And I think engagement works best when your client can be everybody, because then everybody can kind of like engage, but you still need all the other posts to filter out the right type of client. How does your storytelling weave into content that sells, and how to best leverage storytelling that is unique to you? I think we covered most of that. If you have another question, you can put it in the chat, but also I do need to go in 5 minutes. That was the last question sent in. I see Cynthia, this webinar makes me think of actually using a separate Instagram business account to really go all in on the business side of things, which I'm super uncomfortable doing on my personal account. I'm not a brand. My business will be. What would you recommend? I would recommend to not. And it's a little bit outside of the scope of this program, so we can talk more about it in Magnetic. But basically, it's just extra work, and your brand is you. And by creating this separation, you're also creating this idea that selling is maybe something dirty. You know what I mean? Like it shouldn't be out there. But yeah, to me, like I actually did this. I started a new profile. And then I stopped using my personal profile because I didn't want to maintain 2 profiles. And now I'm just using this one. So that's also a bit how it goes. And actually the support from friends and family is really nice. Maddie, yes, thank you for adding them here. I saw something pop up. Are there different types of content formats, post stories you prefer for specific types of content? Yeah, it's a little bit of the formats. Oh yeah, for poster stories. Yeah, we'll talk more about that next. I think it's next week about the types of content. Yeah, I talked a little bit about it with the difference between video and those things. I will go more into that. But it's also just your own preference, and the difference between stories and posts, I kind of compare it to having an elevator and a stair when you go up into a building, and some people always take the stairs and some people always take the elevator, and if you're only hanging out on the stairs, you won't meet the people on the elevator. So it's combining it a bit. It's always a little bit about balance. Do you have any suggestions on how to present video testimonials, like with extra text, long, short, in which format? It's also, what do you prefer to watch? Like sometimes I watch a long video, sometimes I like a shorter one. If you make a longer one, you can get snippets from it. I personally do it between 25 and 45 minutes. I'm actually doing one next week about the magnetic mastermind and about Kim, who's been having really good results. Yeah, so there's no science there. It's just I do that because I like it. I like seeing it, but then I also put the same client results in a post or in a short post, and yeah, you can play with that. I also sometimes put them then in my podcast, just the same episode. Okay, thank you guys. That was it for today, and thank you for bearing with me for being a bit delayed, and thank you for staying longer. I will see you guys do things in the Facebook group. I will share the slides, and I will see you next week. Have a beautiful day.